And welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Break. Woohoo! Party, party. I don't know whether you guys noticed, but geez, crypto just keeps on rocking. Put out tweets yesterday. Was quite surprised to see. And you know, this is half the reason why I built this tool and indicator on the site. Bitcoin and Ethereum are both spitting up weekly commodity trend survey bullish readings. So as long as these moving averages are sitting in a bullish position, I can hunt long setups. If anything, what I'd love to see is maybe have price just back up and kiss the 13 EMA, the fast moving average. You can see Ethereum's got a big old gap right here. So maybe we can come down, kiss that. And then maybe set up some trade setups for us to get in on the long side on the corn. But fantastic. I did go and buy this cripple buy signal, good old 6 there. I don't know whether I really want to get in on BCH. It's funny how that thing's still sticking around. But I also noticed that Adam's moving up, and I know Seward in particular, he likes Adam. Speaking of Seward, today is Tuesday. Usually on Tuesdays, we have TRI CTO come on the Daily Brief After Party broadcast, talk a little bit about what's happening over there in Europe and what's happening on TRI. Of course, Seward's going through the whole Discord migration right now. So he's very, very occupied with that. But unfortunately, poor old Seward's come down with a bit of a bug. You know, they're obsessive about testing for COVID over there in Netherlands. And it turns out it isn't that. Just a good old-fashioned sickness. So poor old Seward's not going to be on the call today. And if anything, he probably wouldn't want to be on the call when he looks at his RNDR. Seward, of course, probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, came on the call and made the bullish case for this RNDR, this REND, and look at that thing go. So we were talking about it down here, beautiful weekly W's, all that kind of stuff, and woohoo! There she goes. And what a great analogy of how quickly the market can reverse back into bull mode. If anything, what should happen here is this kind of price action is going to bring crypto back to the 4. People are going to be talking about it around the dinner table, maybe. I don't know. Tough to say. We're not near any big sort of holiday events where you have all the family sticking around and Joey Diamonds can go and tease the kids about their interest in crypto. You know, middle of January, what a perfect time to ramp these markets up here. So it's fascinating to see the absolute rip-roaring bull market, this FET. This one's interesting. We highlighted this back on the crypto top 100 show that we did back at the end of December. Just talking a little bit about, hey, you better get your together. And look at that crazy thing go. Holy moly, up and down like you know what. And actually, we're going through the up right now. Also is interesting to see, I suppose, I mean, I won't go into too much more detail right now, but some of the other names on the site, you know, Zoogie Sticks, Chris's buddy. Without Zoogie, we would not have Chris in our lives. So everybody give a big thank you to Zoogie. But Zoogie's crypto name just keeps rocking and rolling. I mean, if anything, I have to be sort of demonstrator of best practices, so I better make sure I sell halves on doubles and stuff. But look at that darn thing go. And I had postulated that originally this was going to be my target, 2.618. It looks like it's going there. So way to go, Zoog. You are the man. So anyway, maybe we'll talk a little bit more crypto in a bit. But first, we probably should take a quick boo at the broader market. Of late, we had a little bit of a bounce here off of the 50% level on the US dollar index. And we had some econs come out today. Econs coming out today are still showing, damn, this economy is extremely strong. And if anything, the way that the US hegemony system is set up, you actually want to see bigger and bigger trade deficits. And unfortunately, of course, it doesn't help the underlying value of the US dollar itself and the price stability within the United States of America. But US trade deficits widened to record high in 2022. So that basically, and keep in mind, they've said, there used to be one gentleman on the site who used to always talk about how this was supposed to be a consolidation of power event, all these celestial cycles and, the insanity of 2020 and 21 and 22, Jupiter, Saturn cross, all that stuff. I got to say, man, if there was one thing I absolutely am certain of here is that the U.S. Federal Reserve, basically the Rothschilds, and what's so funny is that all the other banking cartel sort of moguls are all like, yeah, you just keep blaming the Rothschilds. Don't mention my name. Don't mention my name. Hey, you just keep hating on the Rothschilds. That's fine by me. So keep in mind that there's a whole class of this sort of 1% bankster elite, the Klauses of the world, that are driving the bus here. And I would say that they have clearly exerted very firm control and consolidation of their control over the past 5 years. So much so now, and I thought it was interesting this morning, we were joking about it. Now they're actually trying to outlaw gas stoves. I mean, give me a break. Just for the record, anybody watching this, and somebody remind, mindless politicians in my country, Canada, if they start talking about this, the amount of emissions that Canada produces, India and China, they alone in the next year are going to bring online coal-firing power plants that produce as much CO2 emissions as the entire country of Canada. In 1 year, they're going to increase that emission output. So don't kid yourself. This is all some sort of play. Remember that old Bank of Canada governor who now works for Klaus is firmly up his ass. He wants the world to borrow $100 trillion to go electric. And of course, at 5-10% interest, that's like $5-10 trillion right into the banksters' pockets. Pure profit. And of course, those loans will never be paid back. By time slaves can't service those debts anymore, they'll just destroy these countries, create new countries, and start the whole damn game all over again. So you can totally feel that our whole society is just being played so hard here. And the 1% is just business as usual. I mean, I thought it was interesting. Even with all of the crap going on with Winnie the Pooh right now, China is running a $383 billion surplus. That's $383 billion. That's a fucking hell of a lot of money that's being transferred from North America, basically the United States, over to China, even in the face of what you see happening in Hong Kong and all the threats in Taiwan and all that. Nothing's changing here. It's quite shocking. Anyway, business as usual, I suppose. So there's sort of your big headline this morning. We'll say quite a few econs, very, very strong U.S. economy, tons and tons of new jobs being created, trade deficits at record highs. We had, actually, it was funny in the room this morning, somebody's like, what's the economic optimism index? And I said, oh, well, that's an index measuring how optimistic people are feeling about the economy. We were feeling kind of sanguine there, but you could see even these kind of studies are starting to turn the corner. I'm not quite sure how these central bankers can justify now not raising interest rates. All of the econs and all of the economic activities actually ramping up. And I did hear, I thought it was interesting, I did sort of read articles that are saying that inflation is actually starting to tick back up again. So, how ironic. The Fed, the interesting thing about today, and I'm not quite sure how this plays out, but if I understand correctly, where are we here? I thought I had it on here. Maybe it's right here. We've got like, look at all of these guys. So it's understandable that the market's probably a little bit waffling right now. It's 9:17 on the Pacific, on the West Coast. And you can see we've got a Bank of England speaker who was speaking this morning, about an hour and a half ago. We've got an ECB banker that's speaking basically now. He's saying, "Oh, hello, everyone. We are officially going to make you own nothing and hyperinflate all the prices in the world so you don't have any money to buy anything. And there's not much you can do about it. But hey, Klaus says you're going to be happy. So I hope you're happy." And then, of course, probably the main event. Interesting how this gentleman's actually starting. Interesting how they're like dovetailing, eh? I don't know whether it's at the same event, but we got good old Jerry speaking there in about 20 minutes or so. And this Bank of Canada governor, and I got to say, this guy, it was beautiful to watch the leader of the opposition totally corner him and basically trap him in. You don't know what you're doing, do you? Or maybe you do know what you're doing, but you're just blatantly lying to the public and you've got some sort of agenda. And frankly speaking, that's, I think, exactly what's going on in the world. But anyway, that's here and there. So point here is we got a whole bunch of these governors all speaking right now. And my hunch is they're all probably pre-programmed to say the exact same message. They're all basically run by the same entity, this global order. And we're all, basically, slaves of them, unfortunately. I suppose looking at price action itself, like I said, it had a little bit of a bid come in on the US dollar index on the weekly basis. You can see we are brushing up against the 13 EMA here on the weekly charts, though. So we're probably going to run into a bit of resistance here. And this was off of the bottom. So I wouldn't be surprised actually following this sort of all these Fed governors speaking and all this kind of fun stuff. We actually see the US dollar come off a bit here. You can see the Swiss franc is launching higher. Canadian dollar is looking a little bit heavy. Aussie dollar looking a bit heavy. Notice Japanese yen is actually moving up smartly here. And the euro is still trying to get its footing. We had an interesting session in the day traders room this morning. I was thinking about this happens to be a trade based off of settlement. Usually when markets tag settlement, that's a crypto page. Actually, this probably isn't the best chart to show you. I'll do it over here. Usually when markets tag settlement, no, this is also crypto. Isn't that weird? All right, well, I got to put the right page up here. Boom. Usually there's some play right around it. So you notice ES is up 3 points right now, but you can see it's just sort of waffling. Had an interesting 2.618 level there. Actually, one of the guys in the day trader room, he hit that level, which is pretty smart. I started, the first contract I want to give the market was at that settlement level. Sometimes you get the market just stalls right at settlement and reverses. And you can see I put another contract for sale up against this 88.6 of this particular range. And I'm willing basically to risk to a break of these highs. Pretty typical sort of day trader. If anything, I'm a little disappointed that this ABCD, this is the reason why I had the second order up here, this ABCD didn't get hit, the jerks. Actually, this is a bot setup. That's what this image is here. And had I been long the bot, then actually move stop to trailing, locking in profits. Had I been long, I would actually be forced to get out on these big fat M's here. So interesting how the market is actually sort of calming down here a little bit. My hunch is these Fed governors are all probably in unison going to be coming out and saying, gee whiz, the data is coming in awfully strong. Like I said, we have a balance of trade deficit. Not really actually that big of a number to right here today. But I think the big message of today, the messaging was, of course, they ran absolutely insane deficits through January, February, March of the initial part of 2022. So on balance, the whole 2022 is an absolute train wreck. But this is exactly what the bankster class wants. They're just going to dilute the shit out of the U.S. dollar index, the U.S. dollar hegemony system, to make sure that the global economy just keeps humming along. And like I said, I mean, gee whiz, the American citizens. I mean, it's interesting how the American citizens basically handed Winnie the Pooh another like 300-400 billion dollars last year, and I don't even think the average American citizen even understands that. I mean, you have poor old Vladdy over there blowing about 20-30 billion dollars on his war in Ukraine, and the Americans just cut the Chinese a check for $400 billion. I mean, how many Ukraines can China do with that kind of money just being handed to them on an annual basis? So anyway, more rant. Brian, you rant too much. So, there's your econs du jour. But my hunch is that that the econ data is actually pretty darn strong. So you notice that the industrials, and this is an interesting commentary on the market as well. Legacy, brick and mortar, probably heavily indebted companies and stuff, we're going to have a bit of a hard time. NASDAQ stock market for the next 100 years. It should outperform here for the next 10, 15 years. I think we had to get through a little bit of a lull there with that sort of pseudo recession that we just went through, 21, 22 stuff. And of course, a lot of the tech stocks got absolutely smoked. But you can see they're coming charging back here. Now, what's going to derail this? I would say that this would be business as usual, and you will see this thing. Hey, oh, nice to see shorts are working now. You should see, and if anything, that's probably a really good example. Some Fed speaker just said something, and everybody's like, "Oh boy, sky's falling." But what's going to derail this? I think what actually ends up derailing this is more like the debt ceiling debate. And if I'm not mistaken, I think somebody in the lounge even put an article out this morning saying probably about mid-year. Another reason why we should be careful this summer, actually, Effie, who showed us that, had an awesome presentation on the after party last week. He posted this in the lounge. And I think he's talking about, it looks like Mr. Arthur Hayes is out tweeting again. So obviously, any views are views of Arthur and nobody else, and not part of this platform, whatever the hell this platform is. Anyway, if you don't know who Arthur Hayes is, he actually was a principal of BitMEX. Is BitMEX still around? Or did it go? Maybe it went even completely under. Anyway, he made a lot of money. Co-founder of 100X. He was one of the first crypto exchanges that had these absolutely insane. No, it's not Bitfinex. That's different. Bitfinex is owned by and operated by Simon Dixon and all his group at a Bank to the Future. BitMEX, I think that's what it is. But he also, the SEC came down hard on him because he was basically a brutal, he was breaking all of the U.S. securities and exchange laws. And then all of a sudden, Arthur went very, very quiet. So we don't really hear too much out of Arthur anymore. But anyway, I think he did very, very well sitting on a mountain of money. Anyway, I'm not quite sure if this article, I didn't really go through it in detail, but I did see that Effie posted in the lounge. But interesting comments here. Won't bore you too much with the technical minutiae of what that means, but the TLDR, U.S. Treasury has about 500 billion sitting in the TGA. I think that's Treasury General Account. And unfortunately, they can't issue any new debt. Of course, the banksters would love to introduce more debt and, of course, keep the FCASI going. But there's going to be some sort of big, catalyst event here, probably middle of the year. And I've talked to you guys about this before. If there was going to be anything that's going to derail this market, it's going to be that, people who actually want the US dollar to remain somewhat of an actual asset that you can believe in, those kind of things. Shouldn't we debate mortgaging our future? Shut the fuck up and give them the money. Hopefully we're going to get a little bit of a check to that whole world. And unfortunately, what it means is the banksters are going to bring the market down pretty hard here through that debate. But I don't think that really kicks in until the middle of the year. And if anything, we are right now in the sort of Wall Street bread and butter part of the market. The old expression just simply goes, buy when it snows. So here's October, November, December. This is clearly the basing window. And I got to tell you, we had absolutely the most beautiful buy signals coming out of the algorithms through this October, November window. And I mean, the market just rocked. A little bit of a consolidation, and the breadth kind of sort of, it lost interest in the long side. And if anything, I think the breadth is still down in the States, pointed negatively. I would prefer that this kind of clean itself up. You can see there was our last signal there, sort of middle to the end of December, but then we got to sort of, you better cool your jets there, the middle of January. And we've been kind of just waffling here since the middle of January. Stock market wise, so we got our sort of warning signals in here. Honestly, it sure looks to me like this bot's just working away. I would like to get some sort of consolidation to let the algo sort of clean itself up so we're not so egregiously overbought. If anything, what I don't like is the fact that we actually do have an island top there in the stock market. That's a little bit of a negative going forward. Anyway, it is what it is. But buy when it snows, and then usually the cliche goes, sell when it goes. And you probably also heard the expression, sell in May and walk away. I don't know whether this comes in here. My hunch is this ABCD is probably going to play itself out. So maybe it's somewhere up in that area. So there's your backdrop. And then, like I said, when the Treasury officially says, all right, we're running out of money, you better start raising the debt limit and all that kind of stuff. If the Republicans still have any chutzpah, I think they still got a bit of piss and vinegar in there. They're going to put up a bit of a fight. And more importantly, I think what they really want is they just want some sort of accountability. I mean, half of the reason why we have this runaway inflation right now, this whole problem, is that these, Skeletor and substitute drama teachers, it's like somebody just gave them permission to just start spending money like drunken whores and just completely destroying the value of our currencies. I'm not quite sure who it was that gave them that permission, but, this is probably all about Klaus and his great reset and all that crap, this agenda that they have. So, all this blah, 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 long and short of it here, I don't really have any outright sell signals in the market. And when it comes to something like the stock market, I would actually think pullbacks would actually still be considered buying opportunities. And as long as there are stocks that still look like, one of those stocks that I absolutely love right now is this Westport. So as long as you have stocks that still look like this, they've just put in sexy weekly W's and they're just starting to climb the wall of worry. As long as we have markets that look like that, I can't see this market breaking. I just find it incredible. And it's incredible how the media is spinning all of this too. I couldn't believe when I read this article. It's like, you gotta be kidding me. But now, of course, it's always a question of where the hell did the damn article go? There was an article in here that said that that governments are actually considering, and I don't know who's like, do they actually ever have like any kind of referendums or anything about any of this? but they're saying that governments are considering outlawing gas stoves. And I think I said earlier, this is stupidity. And I thought it was interesting that these, and I think it was CNN, these guys are awfully emotional, triggery, shilly kind of people. Also Fox, they love to do that as well. But they were saying that the Asian community is all up in arms over the potential for them to outlaw gas stoves. Why they have to throw in the racial angle into that, I don't know. Why don't they just say citizens are outraged at the idea that governments are going to outlaw gas stoves? Why do they have to have the racial angle? And I think it's to divide us all. I think that's the most important thing about why they keep injecting, this is a total aside from the market, but Morgan Freeman, I think that's his name, he used to be on Sesame Street forever ago. And, people are like, oh, don't you feel upset about all the racial stuff? And he's like, what racial stuff? The only time that there's racial stuff is when people keep talking about it. If somebody's going to break the law, fine, break the law and, take them to court and all that. And if it's racially motivated, then throw the book at them. But you don't, especially the media. Why is the media keep jacking up the whole racial side of this thing? Baffling. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's just my opinion. All right. So point here, we've been blabbing away. Good old Jerry's about to start speaking here in about 7 minutes. Then you got the Bank of Canada clown going to be talking here shortly. I wouldn't be surprised if they move the market a bit higher. I've often told you guys that I believe that crypto is an excellent leading indicator of the economy. And crypto is just going absolutely nuts here. So if anything, this is the most ultimate example of buy when it snows, sell when it goes. And I was joking with people this morning that, and actually it was interesting. One gentleman who I was talking to this morning, he even said that he still finds that crypto Twitter is still somewhat bearish. So as long as the public is still bearish, they're going to just keep taking this shit higher. They got to basically get to the point where the public acquiesces and goes all, ape in and all that kind of talk. Although the guy who does the ape in kind of talk, he's a pretty smart trader. So I don't think he's like a typical FOMO guy, but a lot of the public that do ape in, they're still sitting on the sidelines. They haven't been dragged into the market yet, which I did find a bit fascinating. This, as I told you earlier, this is an example of one that, if you just, God, we were talking about this, this one in particular, but there's a whole bunch of them. I think I showed you poor old Stuart. He wanted to get in on this. It just, he wasn't fast enough to pull the trigger, that RNDR. And then also too, if we think about the debt ceiling debate and we think about how that's probably going to create a scenario, for whatever it's worth, I still think our scenario looks something along the lines of, it's going to take me a minute to find. You guys have seen it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like this, where we have to come back down and test the lows, and we might even break to new lows here. All right. Well, anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the rants. I threw in a bunch of political shit there that I probably shouldn't have. But oh well, what can you do? Where is that shirt? Come on, baby. I know you're in here. Should probably, because I keep referring to the same chart, I should probably just pin it to the top. Here we are. Still think we're going to do something along these lines. Question is, are we right here right now? Or are we right here? I think we're right here still, believe it or not. And I do like the idea that they're going to rip the market down and actually take it to new lows here, which is just going to drive everybody crazy. But if we have to do some kind of rolling top here, through the spring and into the summer, about, of course, and then into the fall, the debt ceiling debate and all that kind of talk, and we're not done sort of bottoming yet. I like the idea that they're actually rallying the market, and especially some of these like AI names. They're rallying in the market to get, of course, all the public long and get them all rah-rah bullish. Some of these names, it's just stunning. Like here's Fjords, like I said, woohoo, big rally. Of course, the public's going to come in and chase and buy up top there, and it could get ugly. There's also another one that's Fed, good example, huge rallies. I can't buy that. I actually saw this RLC the other day. It actually broke out through this weekly W. I was considering that, but still, I'm not really in a big hurry. I'll be more than happy just to work stink bids. But what I was saying here earlier, and I think this makes sense, is we're going to have a period where they rally the market up, they relieve all of the oversold conditions. I mean, keep in mind, like this one here, do you think this thing got slightly oversold down into this window? You know, if we look at things like Willie, yeah, and especially if we look at maybe like a weekly chart, all right? Got to relieve all this oversoldness, right? You can only stretch the rubber band so far. So this is what they're doing right now. Relieve all that oversoldness. They might even get the market overbought again and then bring the market down through that debt ceiling debate stuff. So that's sort of the state of the market right now. I tell you, there's some damn good looking names out there. And of course, anybody who, hey, there's Sanjay. The gas stoves may have to do something with the credit. Interesting. So if you're on the site, check out Sanjay's post there in the lounge. You know, if you're on the ball and you've actually learned how to play this game correctly, I've told you about this guy repeatedly, and he's just in there, just owning this market. Way to go, Ulian. In fact, one of my favorite Romanians, one of my first Romanians, look at this. This actually, we took this picture. I don't know whether you can say this. We took this picture in Vienna. That's Alex, Dan, and myself. When we were in, I think we were in Vienna. Anyway, I haven't seen Dan in a while, but it's absolutely awesome to see him again on the site. And of course, he's sort of Captain Romania. And so he was just having a great old time, giving big shout outs to other Romanians. You Romanians, I swear, man. I think I gotta get like a 1% Romanian profit. I don't want to call it a tax. That's probably the worst word to use, but we'll call it a Liam contribution fund to do nothing more than shop for our Transylvanian castle. Because you guys are just killing it. I can't believe how well you guys are doing. It's a treat to come in every day. And it just goes to show, folks, if you just learn how to play the game, you learn correctly, you learn how to do it. You heard me. I mean, weeks ago, I was going, do you have your shit together? Are you ready to do this? And those people that have their shit together and those people that have learned how to play the game, I mean, it's great to see. They come on the site every day and go, oh, Brian, thank you so much for teaching me how to do all this. Wow, this is awesome. Because I'll tell you, most of the people in the public, right, like down in here on this particular one, not even the slightest bit interested. But this is where you actually have to get interested. It drives you crazy because, you know, most of the time when the public's interested, we're up here. And then I have to start going, what, are you crazy for buying up here? Anyway. Okay, so there's your market state. As I said, we probably want to listen to what Jerry has to say. I mean, he might come out and say, hey, you know what? It's a new bull market. Get out there and buy everything. Interesting how W's are trying to come in just as Jerry's taken the podium. You know, slow and steady wins a race. As you can see, I would like the idea of actually strapping on some shorts, just take shots against these highs. Well, it's probably not the best chart. Where's the best chart to show you? It's just a lower time frame trade. Take a shot against these overnight highs, building a short position up in here, looking for maybe, you know, a nice stab against these lows kind of idea. We'll see how it goes. Slow and steady wins the race. I mean, this is more like day trader stuff. If anything, I probably would want to buy there. I guess look at that. Jerry speaking. He says, hey, you know what? There's no problem with inflation. And woohoo, there goes the stock market. All right. Have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. All the best. The only thing left for Brian to say is bye for now.